Good morning. Today we're going to find the original amount in percent word problems. Some percent questions involve numbers changing over time. These kinds of questions can refer to topics like prices going up or down, attendance at sporting events going up or down, and temperature going up or down, just to name a few. Easier questions involve determining how a number changes from its original value to its final value. More challenging questions involve determining the original amount that a final amount came from. So in today's lesson, we're going to be finding the original amount, and we'll be doing the more complex problems. A method of finding an original amount in a percent question. Number 1, set up the percent proportion. So the percent proportion is part over whole equals percent over 100. Number 2, use method 2 for determining the number to put in the percent location. So method 2 is from yesterday's lesson where we had to find the percent first, the overall percent. And that is going to go in the percent location. Number 3, put the final amount in the is or the part location of the percent proportion, which is the top left. In this case, I'm using the part in my fraction. Number 4, solve for the of or the whole, which I'm using here, location in the percent proportion. So when I'm solving for that and I don't know what it is, I'm going to make that x. So I know that will always be my variable section in the bottom right corner. So let's try some practice questions. Number 1, a snowmobile manufacturer claims that its newest model is 15% lighter than last year's model. If this year's model weighs 799 pounds, how much did last year's model weigh? So the important things to note here is it's 15% lighter, and this year's model weighs 799 pounds. So we're trying to find how much did last year's model weigh. So the first thing we're going to do is write our percent proportion, which is part over whole equals percent over 100. Then method 2 is determining the number in the percent location. So in the percent location, what we're going to do is we're going to always start with the number 100 because everything's always out of 100%. And now that I know that it's 15% lighter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 15 from 100. So 100% minus 15% equals 85. And I subtracted because lighter means smaller. Now I know that for my percent proportion, the percent would be 85. So if I set up this fraction again, the percent we just found was 85. The 100 in the bottom right always stays the same. Now, the part is what it was last year, so that's always going to be, the part is the final amount, what we're at right now. So this part is $7.99. And we're trying to find the whole, we're trying to find the original amount, and because we don't know that, we're going to put an X here. Now, we just have to cross multiply to solve for X. So what I'm going to do to cross multiply, I'm going to cross multiply X times 85. Well, 85 times X is 85X. and then I'm going to do 799 times 100. And when you multiply 799 times 100, you'll get 79,900. To solve for x, I would divide by 85 on both sides. It cancels on the left. When I divide 79,900 divided by 85, I will get 940. And in this case, we're talking about pounds, so my unit at the end is pounds. Question 2. Nick currently has 7,200 points in his fantasy baseball league, which is 20% more points than he did a year ago. How many points did he have a year ago? So the important things that we're going to underline here is that he currently has 7,200 points, and that's 20% more points than he did a year ago. So how many points did he have a year ago? So my percent proportion is part over whole equals percent over 100. First thing I'm going to find is the percent. So it's 20% more. When we're increasing, we're going to add. So I originally want to put 100%. Now I'm going to add the 20%. When you do 100 plus 20, you'll get 120%. So if there's a decrease, we always subtract. If there's an increase, we always add. So for my proportion, the 100 always stays at the bottom, and the percent we just found was 120. Now I want to put the final amount in the part section. So the final amount, or what he currently has, was 7,200 points. So that will go in my part section. The whole, the original amount, I don't know. That's what I'm going to solve for. So I'm going to leave that as x. And now I'm going to cross multiply to solve for x. So x times 120 is 120x. And then I'm going to multiply 7,200 by 100, and I'll get 720,000. Now to solve for x, I'm going to divide both sides by 120. It'll cancel on the left, and I'll be left with x equals, when you divide, you'll get 6,000. And then we always want to label our answer. This question is asking you for points. So 6,000 points. Question 3. Student enrollment at a local school is concerning the community because the number of students have dropped to 504, which is a 20% decrease from the previous year. What was the student enrollment the previous year? So the important things to underline, that it dropped to 504, and then there was a 204% decrease. I'm going to set up my percent proportion, part over whole equals percent over 100. For the percent section, it says there was a 20% decrease. So decrease means I'm going to subtract. So I start with 100%, and then I subtract 20%. And when I do 100 minus 20, you'll get 80%. So in the percent section, I'm going to put the number 80. Remember, 100 always stays in the bottom right corner. And then for the part, I'm going to be putting what we're currently at. And this year, it was 504. The section that I don't know, I'm going to make that x. I'm going to cross multiply. 80 times x is 80x. And then 504 times 100 is 50,400. To solve for x, I'll divide both sides by 80. It'll cancel on the left. When I do 50,400 divided by 80, I'll get 630. So x equals 630. And in this case, we're talking about student enrollment. So we can say 630 students. Question number 4. After 60% of the water in a tank has evaporated, there is 648 gallons of water left. How much water was originally in the tank? So there was 60% of the water in the tank evaporated, and there is 648 gallons of water left. So when we're talking about it evaporating, that means it's getting smaller. So if we just want to note, that means that we would be subtracting here in this case. So for my part over whole, equals percent over 100. Remember, the bottom right always stays at 100, so I can fill that out first if you want to. For the percent, you have to ask yourself if there was an increase or a decrease, and in this case, we said that there is a decrease because we are subtracting. Water has evaporated. So if it was originally 100%, I'm going to subtract the 60%, and then when I do 100 minus 60, I will get 40%. So 40 is going to go in my percent section in the top right corner. And then for the part section, remember the part is always the current amount. So in this case, there was 648 gallons left. So that would go here. Top left, 648. And the whole I'm not sure of. That's the amount that I'm trying to solve for. So I can just call that x. Now, I want to cross multiply to solve for x. I'm going to start with this. X times 40 is just 40x. 648 times 100 is 64,800. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 40 to get x by itself. Cancels on the left. X equals 64,800 divided by 40 is 1,620. And in this case, we're talking about gallons of water. So I can write 1,620 gallons. Question 5. Yoshi is 5% taller today than she was 1 year ago. Her current height is 168 centimeters. How tall was she 1 year ago? So in this question, I'm going to underline 5% taller today. and current height is 168. How tall was she 1 year ago? Okay, so I'm going to set up my proportion part over whole equals percent over 100. When I fill this in, the 100 always stays in the bottom right. For the percent, 5% taller, that means that our percent is increasing. So if I start at 100%, I'm adding 5%. 100 plus 5 is 105%. So in that percent section, we're filling in 105. Next, we're going to fill in the part section with the current amount. The current amount is 168. And the whole, or the current amount we're trying to find, or the past amount, the original amount we're trying to find. So we're going to make that x. We are going to cross multiply to solve for x. X times 105 is 105x. 168 times 100 is 16,800. I'm going to divide both sides by 105 to get x by itself. And when I do 16,800 divided by 105, I'll get 160. And in this problem, we're talking about centimeters because we're talking about how tall she is. So my unit is centimeters. And that's it for today's lesson. Your homework will be on a separate sheet of paper.